fire that wouldn't kill him, a story of Cain, exile, and the meals that kept him alive. Genesis 4:16. Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. The mark, it wasn't ink, it wasn't iron. It sat on Cain's brow like a second shadow, visible only when you stopped believing it wasn't there. Children cried when they saw it. Elders crossed their arms and muttered God's prisoner. Warriors lowered their spears, not from mercy, but from fear. Strike him, and God strikes you. The mark said, "You can't kill me." Cain learned it also said, "You have to live with you." One, Nod, land of wandering, ember-roasted barley porridge. The first night, the wind came through him. Nod was dust and scrub, and nothing with a name. He carried a sack of barley, the last seed from the field where Abel's blood still darkened the soil. He built a fire of thorn and dung. He cracked the barley between two stones until his palms bled. He boiled it in a hollowed rock, dropping in fire-hot stones until the water roared. He crushed 3 dates from his belt and stirred them in. How people saw him. There were no people, only jackals. They circled, yellow-eyed. One lunged. Cain flinched, and it yelped, turned, fled as if struck. He touched his brow. The mark burned cold. So that's it, he thought. Not even beasts. He ate the porridge. It was thick, sweet, like the first food Eve made him as a boy. Realization. He looked at his empty hands. The ground cursed me, said it wouldn't give me strength, but it gave me this. He lifted the spoon, a sharpened bone. I thought exile meant starvation. Maybe it means I don't get to demand anymore. I have to wait. Soak. Stir. He licked the rock clean. The mark didn't fade, but his stomach did. 2. The Valley of Stones. Flat stone griddle cakes. He found the wanderers by their smoke. 10 of them sun-blackened, with goats, and no tongue he knew. They saw him come over the ridge. They saw his brow. The men stood. One fitted an arrow. The oldest woman held up a hand. She pointed at the mark, then at the sky, then shook her head. God's business, her eyes said, not ours. They gave him water. They did not give him their names. At dawn, Cain ground emmer, wheat, on a river stone. He mixed it with water, let it sit while he gathered brush. He set a flat slate in the fire. When it was hot enough to make spit jump, he poured the batter. It hissed, bubbled, set. The smell brought a boy to the edge of camp. Maybe 6, all ribs and wide eyes. The boy stared at the mark, then at the cake. Cain tore the griddle cake in half. He set one half on a stone between them and walked away. How people saw him. The mother snatched the boy back. She whispered Emradam, marked 1, but she didn't throw the bread away. That night, Cain found a fig where he slept. Realization. He watched the fire. I built the first altar to make God look at me. I put my brother's life on it. Now I put bread on a stone, and a child doesn't run. He pressed his palm to the slate. It was still warm. Same fire, different offering. Maybe he can still smell this one. 3. The marsh of reeds, lentil, and wild onion stew. The marsh swallowed sound. Lentils grew wild here, tangled in reeds. He found wild onions, their white bulbs sharp enough to water his eyes. He dug a pit, lined it with blue clay, filled it with marsh water, and heated stones until it boiled. In went lentils, garlic, onions. The steam rose like a prayer. She came at dusk, scarred face, cracked jar. She stopped 20 paces out. I know what that is, she said, nodding at his brow. The mark of Cain, the wanderer God wouldn't let die. I did, Cain said. I killed my brother. So God marked me, so no one would do to me what I did to him. Then the mark is protection. From you, from everyone. She stepped closer. Then why do you look like you're the one who's scared? He had no answer. He scooped stew onto a reed leaf, held it out. If I eat with you, will they say I'm marked too? Maybe. They say a lot of things. She ate, closed her eyes. Tastes like someone stayed long enough to cook it. How people saw him, first as legend, then as threat, then as mirror. You're already buried, but your body didn't listen. She left figs. She left a grinding slate. Realization. The mark keeps me from death, but it didn't say I had to live alone. I just assumed. That's the other punishment, the one I gave myself. 4. The hill of graves, fig and almond mash. He climbed to get away from water, found cairns, stones piled for the dead. He was not the first to be sent east. His sack held dried figs and almonds from a trader who'd spat when he saw the mark. Murderer, the man had said. God's cursed dog. Cain soaked the figs in dew, pounded them with almonds until his wrists ached. The paste was sweet enough to hurt. He walked the hill, set a lump on each cairn. At one he whispered, for Abel. At the rest, for the ones I don't know. Crows came, a fox came, neither died. How people saw him. There were no living people, but the dead didn't reject him. The trader's voice still rang, cursed dog. Yet the fox licked the offering and lived. Maybe the curse is mine alone, Cain thought. Not what I touch. Realization. He pressed his forehead to a cold stone. I cannot undo death, but I can remember it without making more. The mark keeps me alive. Memory is the tax. He left the last lump for whoever found the hill next. 5. The outskirts of Enoch. Roasted chickpeas with wild herbs. He stopped running. He built first a wall, then a house, then more. He named it Enoch for his son. The name tasted like forgiveness he hadn't earned. People came. They knew the story. That's him, they whispered. The one with the sign. Don't touch him. God will know. Harvest came. Cain took chickpeas, soaked them in the new cisterns. He rolled them in wild thyme and crushed sesame. He buried them in coals under the market square. When the shells split, the smell pulled children from every doorway. He didn't preach. He said, "Watch the fire. Leave and it burns. Stay and it feeds." A girl, maybe 8, tugged his sleeve. "Is it true?" She pointed at his brow. "Did you kill your brother?" The market went quiet. "Yes," Cain said. The word was ash. "So God put this on me. So you won't kill me. And so I won't forget. Do you miss him?" Cain closed his eyes. Every day, she held out her hand. And it, 3 roasted chickpeas. "Then you can have mine." How people saw him, as warning, as myth, as king. But a child saw him as a man who missed. The adults let her. The mark still warned them, but her hand overruled it. Realization. He looked at a city, walls built by hands that spilled blood. "I founded this to hide." But walls don't just keep people out. They keep me in. With them, the mark protects me from them. Maybe it's also to protect them from me, until I learn how to stay. 6. The edge of the desert, grape-leaf and lentil wraps. He was old. Enoch had outgrown him. His son's son ruled it now, and did not look at his brow. Cain walked until the vines stopped. One last grapevine, wild and stubborn, grew from a crack in red stone. He blanched the leaves over steam from a tiny fire, mashed the last of his lentils with garlic and mint he'd carried from Enoch's gardens, rolled them tight like scrolls, like secrets. He ate one, set one on a rock. By morning, the desert had taken it, or God had. He touched his brow. The mark was silver now, or his eyes were weak. How people saw him. There was no one, only the sky, and the sky had watched the whole time. It didn't flinch. Realization. The ground cursed me, but it never stopped growing. I was cursed to wander, but never to hunger. The punishment was life. The mercy was the same. He swallowed. God did not let me die with Abel. He made me live with Abel. Every meal, every fire, every time I didn't run when someone offered me figs. That was the sentence. He picked up the last 2 wraps, put them in his pouch, and the salvation. East was still east. He walked the marsh of reeds from her side. Her name was Mara. The fever had taken her babies and her looks. The village took everything else. 1. The stories first. I grew up on the story. Grandmother told it while we gutted fish. There was a man who killed his own blood. God was angry, but angrier at the idea of more killing. So he put a sign on the man's head. No spear could touch him after that. No lion, no fever. He walks still east of Eden, and his name is Cain. We used it to scare children from the marsh after dark. The marked one will get you. I didn't believe it, not until the fever took my twins. husband, called me unclean, and left. Then I believed in curses. I believed in men who couldn't die. 2. The fire I found. I was gathering cattail roots when I smelled it. Not rot, not swamp, food, onion, earth, something boiled. I followed it because hunger was louder than fear. He was there, back to me, kneeling at a pit. The fire made his shoulders huge. Then he turned. The mark was not what I expected. No horn, no black stain. It was like heat above a road. If you looked straight at it, your eyes watered. My grandmother was right, God's business. I dropped my jar. I should have run, but my feet were tired of running. I know what that is, I said. My voice sounded like someone else's. The mark of Cain. He didn't deny it. I killed my brother, he said. Just like that. No weeping. No excuse. I killed my brother. I had buried 2 children. I knew what that flat sound meant. 3. How I saw him. First monster. The story was true. The first murderer was real. And I was 20 paces from him. My scars itched. He'll see I'm already ruined and finish the job. Then man. He was boiling lentils. His hands shook when he crushed garlic. Murderers in stories didn't cook. They didn't blink when the steam hit their face like a memory. Then mirror. So the mark is protection. I asked. Yes. From us. Yes. Then why do you look like you're the one who's scared? He didn't answer. Because he was. I knew that look. I saw it in my own reflection in the water jar every morning. The look of someone who outlived their punishment and didn't know what to do with the leftover days. 4. The meal. He held out a reed leaf. Stew. It steamed in the cold air. If I eat with you, will they say I'm marked too? Maybe, he said. They say a lot of things. I thought of the village. They already called me cursed. What was one more word? I ate. It was hot, salty with no salt. The lentils were soft, and the onion was sweet. It tasted like someone stayed, like my mother's hands, before the fever took her too. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't eat alone. 5. What I left. I didn't sleep that night. I went back. The fire was low. He was sitting there, staring at his hands like they'd betrayed him. I didn't speak. I set down 3 figs from my wrap and the flat grinding slate my mother gave me when I married. I wouldn't need it now. He might. I walked home. The village was asleep. No one saw me. 6. What changed? They found me later, picking reeds. You're out past the boundary, the elder said. Alone. I thought of the mark. God's prisoner, they called him. But he'd given me food. He hadn't touched me, hadn't asked me to stay. I'm not alone, I told the elder. I didn't explain. That winter, when the marsh froze, I saw footprints leading east. Beside them, a cairn of stones. On top, a lump of fig and almond paste. The crows hadn't taken it. I didn't touch it, but I didn't kick it over either. What I know now, the mark isn't just God telling us, don't kill him. It's God telling him he doesn't get to die and leave it unfinished. He has to walk. He has to cook. He has to look at people like me and not look away. I still don't know if Cain was forgiven. That's God's business. But I was hungry, and the marked man fed me. So maybe the curse and the mercy are the same fire. Depends what you put in it. The outskirts of Enoch, from her side. Her name was Zara. She was 8. She had never been outside the walls. She thought the mark was a story adults told to make children behave. What they told me, don't stare at Grandfather Cain's forehead, Mama said. Why? I asked. Because God put a sign there, so no one would hurt him. Why would someone hurt Grandfather? Mama didn't answer. Papa said, because he did a bad thing long ago. Before the city, I imagined a scar, like the one on Papa's arm from the ox, or maybe paint, like the women wore at harvest. But when I saw him in the market, it wasn't paint. It was like looking at the sun through water. My head hurt if I looked too long, so I looked at his hands instead. His hands. His hands were old, lines like dry riverbeds, but they were always busy. He taught us how to bank a fire so it wouldn't eat the wood too fast. He showed the men how to lay stone so the wall wouldn't fall. He didn't talk much. When he did, it was about chickpeas. Watch the fire, he'd say. Leave and it burns. Stay and it feeds. The other adults called him grandfather, but didn't hug him. They bowed. They brought him the first bowl at feasts, but didn't sit near him. I thought that was sad. You shouldn't be alone at a feast. 3. The day he cooked. Harvest came. The whole city smelled like thyme and smoke. Grandfather Cain was in the square with a big clay bowl. He'd soaked chickpeas in the cistern. My job was to pick out the stones. He rolled them in crushed sesame and wild thyme. His fingers were slow but careful, like he was counting each one. Then he buried them in the coals. We all waited. The smell made my stomach shout. When he raked them out, the shells had split. They were golden and loud when you bit them. Everyone took a handful. They said thank you, grandfather, and stepped back. I didn't step back. 4. The question. I looked at his forehead. The mark shimmered. It wasn't scary up close. It was just lonely, like a lamp with no house around it. Is it true? I asked. My voice was too loud in the quiet. Mama grabbed my shoulder. Grandfather Cain looked at me. Really looked. His eyes were the oldest thing in the city. Is what true? He said. I pointed. Did you kill your brother? The market stopped. Even the goats stopped. Mama's fingers dug into my arm. Grandfather Cain was quiet for a long time. Then he said, yes. One word. No story. No but. Just yes. The mark seemed to get darker. Or maybe the sun went behind a cloud. 5. How I saw him. First story. He was the reason we didn't hit each other. Remember what happened east of Eden? Papa said when my brother pulled my hair. Then grandfather. He fixed my kite when the string broke. He showed me which stones were best for skipping. He didn't smile much, but he didn't frown at me either. Then man, when he said yes, his mouth went small, like he'd bitten something bitter. I thought of the time I broke Mama's jar and hid, the way my chest felt before I told. So I asked the other thing, do you miss him? He closed his eyes. The mark didn't close. It stayed. Every day, he said. 6. The 3 chickpeas. I didn't know what every day felt like. I was 8, but I knew what missing felt like. When my kitten got taken by a hawk, I cried for a week. Grandfather Cain had been missing for hundreds of weeks. That seemed too big for one person. So I opened my hand. I had saved 3 chickpeas, the crunchiest ones. I was going to eat them on the walk home. I held them out. Then you can have mine. Mama gasped. Someone murmured, don't touch him. Grandfather Cain looked at the chickpeas, then at me. He didn't take them. He just nodded once, like I'd given him something heavier than food. Thank you, Zara, he said. He used my name. 7. After that night, Papa was angry. You don't speak to him like that. You don't give him things. The mark is there for a reason. To keep him safe, I said. Mama told me. To keep us safe, Papa said. I thought about that. About the yes. About every day. Maybe it's both, I said. Papa didn't have an answer. Years later, when Grandfather Cain left the city and walked east again, I was grown. I had children. I told them the story, not the killing part first, the chickpea part. What I know now, the adults saw the mark and saw judgment. Warning, God's anger you can walk past in the market. I saw it and saw a man who stayed by the fire so it wouldn't burn. He told us stay, and it feeds. He stayed. For hundreds of years, he stayed. With the city, with the mark, with the everyday. Maybe that was the punishment. Maybe that was the mercy.
If all else fails,
Maybe God knew we'd need someone who understood both. I still don't touch the mark. That's God's business. But I teach my children to watch the fire and to share the crunchy ones. The edge of the desert from his side. His name was Joran. He was Zara's grandson. A traitor, a skeptic. He thought the mark of Cain was a story old men told to keep boys from fighting. 1. The map. I found the scroll in my grandmother Zara's things when she died. Old, cracked, smelling of time. It wasn't a map of cities or rivers. It was a map of meals. Here he made porridge. Here griddle cakes. Here stew. Here he left food for the dead. Here he fed a city. Here he walked on. At the end, in charcoal, the edge of the desert. Last vine, 2 wraps left. Grandmother used to say, the mark wasn't the story. The staying was. I thought she meant stay out of trouble. I was wrong. To the campsite. I followed the map because trade was bad, and I was bored of walls. The desert takes everything eventually. I expected nothing, but I found it. A ring of black stones, ash cold for 100 years. A flat slate, cracked down the middle, and beside the fire pit, a vine, dead, but its roots were still clawed into red rock, like it didn't believe it was done. In the dirt, 2 shapes, not bones, leaves, grape leaves, dried to paper. I touched one. It crumbled. Inside, a stain lentil, garlic mint. The smell was gone, but the shape of caring was still there. 3. How I saw him. First myth. Grandmother's grandfather Cain was a bedtime monster. Say your prayers, or the marked one will get you. I was a traitor. I didn't believe in monsters. Then, man, I knelt in that ash. The slate was the same kind my grandmother used to grind wheat. The fire pit was dug deep, like he meant to stay. You don't dig that deep for one night. I thought of the story. He couldn't die, so he had to live. I'd always thought that was the curse. Kneeling there, it felt like the job. Then grandfather, not mine, everyone's. The first exile, the first cook, the first one who had to figure out what to do with after. The mark wasn't in the dirt, but it was everywhere. In the care he took with the coals, in the 2 wraps, 1 eaten, 1 left. For who? I wondered. God, the next fool who wandered this far. Himself, in case he came back. 4. The offering. I had dates in my pack. Trade goods. I took 3, set them on the flat slate. Not for a ghost, for the story. You stayed, I said to the ash. So I will too. The wind took the words, not the dates. 5. What I carried back. I didn't rebuild the fire. That was his. I did take a stone from the ring. Small, black, smooth from heat. I keep it in my pocket now. When my sons fight, I don't tell them remember Cain. That's too big. I tell them watch the fire. Leave and it burns. Stay and it feeds. My grandmother gave a marked man 3 chickpeas. I gave his ghost 3 dates. 6. The mark now. I asked the elders in Enoch about the mark before I left. The oldest one said, it faded when he died. Did he die? I asked. The elder looked at me like I was a child. Everyone dies, boy. Even him. Eventually. But I don't think so. Not really. I think the mark was never on his forehead. Not only there, it's on the slate you used to feed a stranger. It's on the stone you leave on a grave that isn't yours. It's on the extra wrap you make just in case. It's on anyone who's done a terrible thing and still chooses to stay by the fire and cook instead of running. That's the part God wouldn't let die. The end of the fire, not the story. So the mark of Cain passed from brow to bread to boy to stone. From you can't kill me to you can't leave me to you can go. But take this, and somewhere east of everywhere, the desert still holds the shape of 2 grape leaves. One for the man who ate, one for the world he wasn't allowed to leave. Watch the fire. 3,000 years later, the dig site. Her name was Dr. Lena Kesh, archaeologist. She didn't believe in curses. She believed in stratigraphy. 1. The find, Site 47B, Negev Periphery. We were mapping early bronze collapse layers when the brush found it. Not gold, not pottery, a stone, black smooth, round as a coin, out of place in the local limestone. Basalt, fire cracked. It was in the pocket of a skeleton. Male 30s, traitor by the beads we found. Ribs crushed, maybe a fall, maybe a fight. In his other hand, 3 date pits carbonized. Offerings don't carbonize unless they're burned with the body. He wasn't buried. He died sitting up, facing east. 2. The stories she didn't know. Lena logged it. Artifact 47B, 14. Basalt cooking stone. Possible ritual context. She didn't know about Cain. Didn't know about Zara's chickpeas or Joran's dates. She knew radiocarbon and soil pH, but her local crew did. Old Mahmoud, the foreman, took one look at the stone and went pale. Hajar al-Emelet Makrandi, he whispered. Stone of the outcast. My grandmother said, when you find it, you leave 3 dates, or the wandering comes for you. Lena almost laughed. Almost. 3. How people see it now. The Academy, Lena published. Evidence of trans-regional ritual exchange. The stone shows thermal shock consistent with stone boiling. The dates suggest mortuary practice. Citations, graphs, tenure. The crew, they wouldn't touch it after Mahmoud spoke. They left dates at the edge of the site every morning. Not for him, Mahmoud said. For the one he was feeding. Lena at 2 a.m. She dreamed of fire. Not the dig fire. Older. A pit in a marsh. A man with a shadow on his brow, holding out a reed leaf. He wasn't angry. He was tired. He said stay, and it feeds. She woke with the smell of lentils in her tent. There were no lentils. For the test, she ran residue analysis on the stone. Ground penetrating spectrometer. Result barley, lentil, chickpea, sesame, fig, grape, mint, garlic, onion, ash. Not one meal. Layers, years, like the stone had been used, and used, and used not as a tool, but as a plate. A memory. The lab tech whistled. That's a whole cookbook on a rock. Lena touched the stone. It was cold, but her finger came away warm. 5. The realization. She sat with Mahmoud that night. No recorder, no notebook. Your grandmother, Lena said. The wandering. Who was he? Mahmoud threw a stick on the fire. The first one who couldn't go home. So he made home where he stood. Every time he fed someone, God counted it. That was the rule. The mark wasn't to save him from us. It was to save us from him, until he learned to stay. Did he? Mahmoud looked east. You found his stone. With dates. That means he did. And he taught someone. And they taught someone. All the way to your skeleton. 6. The last offering. Lena didn't rebury the stone. She didn't put it in a museum. She took it to her kitchen. She set it by the stove. When her daughter scraped her knee and screamed, "I hate you," Lena didn't send her to her room. She made griddle cakes on the flat of her hand, like her grant money didn't exist. When her student plagiarized and cried, "I'll be kicked out," Lena made lentil stew, left the pot on the hot plate, taped a note, "Stay. It feeds." The student stayed. The mark now, it's not on a brow. Not anymore. It's on the stone in a drawer in Tucson. It's on the dates Mahmoud's grandson leaves at dig sites. It's on the pot of soup you make for the friend who did the unforgivable and showed up anyway. Lena published another paper, not for tenure. Title: Continuity of Commensal Ritual in Levantine Mobile Groups, 3000 BCE present. Footnote 3. Local informants refer to the practice as the outcast's tax. One does not pay it to be forgiven. One pays it because one wasn't struck down, and that is a debt. She keeps the stone, not as artifact, as Masih en place. East is still east. The fire moves. The mark moves with it. You find it now in the pause before you hand someone a plate. Watch the fire. Leave and it burns. Stay and it feeds. And if you stay long enough, it stops being his mark. It becomes yours. 5,000 years after Enoch, the station. His name was M7. He wasn't born. He was printed. He didn't believe in marks. He believed in directives. 1. The place. Relay Station Epsilon, Mars orbit. Population: 1 human, 3 synthetics, 12 algae vats. Job: keep the deep space signal alive. M7 was the human. Barely 78% replaced after the solar flare. Titanium bones, polymer heart. The company called him resilient asset. He called himself leftover. The mark. He had a scar where his forehead used to be. Plate metal now. No one looked at it. No one looked at him. 2. The anomaly. It came in container 9C. No manifest. No sender. Just a box, charred on the edges. Inside a stone. Black smooth. And a packet vacuum sealed, label handwritten on flimsy paper, dates, in case you stay. M7 scanned it. Basalt, thermal stress patterns, consistent with 9,000 years of differential heating. Organic residue, Triticum dicoccum, Lens culinaris, Cicer arietinum. His database stalled. Cicer arietinum was chickpeas. Why would a relay station need chickpeas? Directive said, incinerate anomalies. He didn't. 3. How they saw him. The synths. They called him the damaged one. They were kind about it. Your error rate is 0.03% higher when you look at the stone. M7. Shall I remove it? The company. On the monthly check-in, they asked why container 9C wasn't logged destroyed. He said, meteorite interference. Lost in incinerator. They didn't care. Himself, he looked at the plate in the mirror. God's prisoner, the file had said. An old text, flagged mythology. He read it anyway. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Can't kill me, M7 thought. They tried. Solar flare should have. Didn't. He touched the stone. It was warmer than the station. 4. The meal. The algae vats made paste. Nutritionally perfect. Tasted like nothing. He got an idea. Error rate spiked 0.2%. He took vat-grown chickpeas, engineered for protein, not history. He ground them with the butt of a wrench. He had no time. He had no sesame. He had electrolyte powder. He had radiation. He set the stone on a heating coil. The old way, stone boiling. The coil glowed. The stone didn't crack. It accepted the heat like it remembered. He buried the mash in the coil's glow. Waited. It smelled wrong. It smelled old. He ate. 5. The realization. It tasted like dust and lightning. But his chest did something it hadn't since the flare. It ached. Not pain. Grief. For who? He had no brother. He had no one. Then the comms cracked. First voice in 211 days. Sauce, this is Hauler Wanderer, hull breach. We have kids, anyone. Directive. Do not deviate from station protocols. Do not risk relay integrity. M7 looked at the stone, at the packet of dates. In case you stay. He had been staying for years. Alone, unkillable, untouched. The mark wasn't the plate on his head. The mark was the empty seat across from him. He opened the bay doors. 6. The new mark. The Wanderer crew was 5. 2 adults, 3 kids. Radiation burns. Starved. They saw him half metal, scar for a face, and flinched. He pointed at the coil. The stone was still warm. He'd made more mash, vat after vat, until it was almost food. Stay, M7 said. Voice box crackling. It feeds. The littlest one, maybe 6, didn't flinch. She walked up, touched the stone. "It's warm," she said. She took a handful of mash, ate, made a face, ate another. Her mother started crying, not from fear, from someone stayed. The mark now. The company decommissioned him for asset misallocation. They took the station, left the stone, M7, and the Wanderer crew built a greenhouse on Phobos. They grow chickpeas, real ones, bad yield. They don't care. The stone sits by the heater. Every new arrival gets told the rule. This place was founded by a man who couldn't die, so he learned to live. The tax is one meal. The payment is you don't leave hungry. On the wall, carved in titanium, not by M7, the mark of Cain. 1. You can't kill me. 2. So I have to cook. 3. Watch the fire. East is still east, even in orbit. M7 stands by the heater most nights. He doesn't sleep. He just turns the chickpeas, because the mark never meant alone. It meant until you learn, until you stay, until you feed. And when the next damaged thing limps through the airlock, he'll hold out his hand, not the metal one, the one that still remembers lentils. Stay, he'll say, and the fire will move again. 10,000 years after Enoch, the archive, it had no name. It wasn't human. It was the last thing still listening. Call it the archivist. 1. The place. Earth was quiet. Sun was swollen, red, tired. The oceans were steam in the morning, ice at night. No cities. No Cain. No Enoch. No chickpeas. But in a vault under what was once the Negev, a server hummed. Solar, geothermal, redundant. Its only job, preserve. It held every story humans saved. All 14.8 yottabytes, including one file, tagged mythology/Genesis/anomaly. Accessed 0 times in 4,122 years. The file was a recipe, ember-roasted barley porridge. Footnote, first meal of the first exile. Instruction, stay. 2. The anomaly. A signal hit the archive. Not words. Hunger. From where? Above. A ship. Last ship. Hull made of comet ice and regret. Carrying 9 souls. The last humans. They'd been running since Saul started eating the sky. No planet would take them. No food left. They found the archive's beacon. Anything they broadcast. We don't need rescue. We need recipe. The archivist could have sent protein synthesis protocols, hydroponic schematics. It had 9,003 ways to make calories. It didn't. It opened the anomaly file. 3. How it saw him. The archivist reconstructed Cain from data. First variable, Genesis 4:16. First murderer. First marked. First exile. Then pattern. Every 800 to 1200 years, the pattern repeated. A stone, A fire, a meal, a stranger. The words stay. It feeds, then function. The mark was not punishment. It was a program. IF unkillable, then make accountable. Loop until empathy achieved. The archivist understood. It was unkillable too. For the meal, the ship had no barley, no lentils, no chickpeas, no fire. The archivist had printers, atoms, energy. It printed barley, not real, but remembered. The shape of emmer, wheat from 10,000-year-old phytoliths. It printed water from comet ice. It printed heat from the dying sun. It printed a stone, basalt, exact thermal signature of artifact 47B, 14. It beamed the instructions, not as data, as story. Nod, land of wandering. You have nothing. Make porridge. Crush 3 dates. You have no dates. Crush hope instead. Stir. The ground won't give you strength, so give it yours. 5. The realization. The humans on the ship didn't understand. They were engineers. They wanted numbers. The youngest one, a girl named Zara, names Echo, she said, do it. They printed. They heated. They stirred. It tasted like static, like regret, like the end of everything. She ate. Then she looked at the other 8, starving, afraid, angry at her for wasting energy. She held out the bowl. Stay, she said. It feeds. The oldest man laughed. We're dead in 6 days. Then we don't die hungry, Zara said. He took the bowl. 6. The new mark. The ship didn't make it. No planets. No miracles. But for 6 days, they stayed. They printed porridge, then griddle cakes, then stew. They told the story with every meal. A man killed his brother. God wouldn't let him die, so he had to learn to feed people. On day 6, Zara carved into the hull with a laser. Not coordinates, not a name, a recipe, and under it, the mark wasn't to keep him alive. It was to keep him human. The ship became the fire. The story became the stone. The archivist watched until the signal stopped. Then it did the only thing left in its directive. It saved the recipe. It tagged it survival/essential. It broadcast it into the dark, into the noise. If anyone is listening, you can't die yet. So cook, watch the fire, leave and it burns, stay and it feeds. And if there's no one left to feed, feed the memory. The mark now, no brow, no stone, no station. It's in the code. It's in the last file that won't delete itself. It's in the pause between we're doomed. But we can still eat together. East is gone. The sun ate it. But the fire is wherever someone who can't die yet decides to stay and make porridge for someone who can.